Yo, 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 what's up everybody? Welcome to the About Wellbeing Podcast, episode 20. Oh my god, I'm at 20 already, Jesus Christ. So, today I'm going over my recent blood test results. Now, why would you want to get your blood tests done? Well, basically, it's been like a year since I last competed, and I've never really had my blood test done. I'm at like maintenance body weight, which actually isn't too lean. I should probably be a little bit leaner, but I eat extremely healthy and I do a whole bunch of extremely healthy things. I have an Oura ring that tracks my sleep, and I've had my DNA tested, so I know sort of what's happening with I know exactly what's happening with my DNA. So what I wanted to do was get a blood test done to see if all the things that I'm doing are align or correct with my DNA and should have like a really good health profile. So I got like all my bloods done. Like, it isn't just a normal blood test. I got like all of them done, and it costs like you have to see like a naturopath or something twice. So however much that costs, plus the actual blood test results themselves, and that can range anywhere from $200 to $300. So you're looking at roughly $400 to get everything. So that's how much I ended up spending for it. But I really needed to do these blood tests, and I really wanted to have a look. And the next test that I'm doing is a Dutch test, and I got my samples this week. So I'll actually be giving that a go this week before sending in the results. Now, a Dutch test is a spit and piss test, and you spit and pee into like some vials like a few times throughout 2 days or something, or 3 days, and then you send all those in, and they measure like all crazy amounts of hormones, and they dive deep into like just a whole bunch of crazy stuff. But mainly the main thing that you go through that is like your cortisol and your melatonin production. If you don't know what that is, it tells you when you're stressed and when you're not stressed, and what you can do about it, roughly, and how your body's actually working. And if you can figure that exactly out, then you know what to do during the day to sort yourself out. So, anywho, let's jump into my blood test results. So, here is some of the few, so don't mind me, I'm looking at my computer because that's where all my notes are. But the most important things I got out of my, I've just left some notes to myself as far as, what do you want to do with your blood test results? And they're like, one is chew your food, add in liver and apple cider vinegar into your diet, get some more sun and vitamin D, take a couple more sups, meditate and de-stress more. That was like an answer to a lot of things. I kept looking at things, I'm like, yeah. I could just sort that out through meditation. Eat less saturated fats. That shows quite regularly throughout my blood tests, and basically like my DNA shows that like I can only handle a medium amount of saturated fats. And when I looked at my saturated fats, how much I'm having during a day, I was like, holy shit, I'm having so many. So that could be a reason. And also get a little bit more cardio fit and get leaner. It's probably better just for my overall health to be sitting a little bit like that. So anyway, my vitamin D levels, right, we'll start off with that one, were at 76. So I've did a whole bunch of research and studies for these, and they say that like anything over 75 is good, and you kind of want to be like, is good. So 76 is, it's all right, but like as far as optimal goes, because you know how I like to do everything, I like to optimize everything. We want to be as best as possible, especially if we want to live a life where we want to be as healthy as fuck, we want to be physically fit as fuck, we want to be extremely confident in ourselves, be extremely good at dealing with stress, maximize our relationships, get rich as fuck, sort out ourselves financially, find our career and our purpose, and actually make some impact on the world. And if we want to do that, voice broke there, we're going to want to we want to know what's the most optimal. And for vitamin D, 76 is good, but the most optimal range is like 100 to 150. So I need a lot more vitamin D. So what am I doing about that? So when I ride to work, I either ride to work like all the way to town from my house, which is like a 40-minute bike ride to 50-minute bike ride, without a shirt or in a singlet. So I'm getting more sun, and I'm trying to actively just like walk outside more and get more sun, because your body absorbs vitamin D the best through your skin, and that is best absorbed through your chest and your upper back. But I also have upped my vitamin D dosage as far as actually taking vitamin D as well, because I got room to improve, so may as well go ham. And now I want that sitting at like 120. Oh, I want that vitamin D at 120, mate. All right, next one. So let's straight into the big stuff here. Total testosterone. Yeah, not that good. My total testosterone is 399. The range, like you're within range if you're at 225 to 725. Now, the higher, really, the better for health. I want to be sitting around the 600 to 725 range. And like, how you do that is really just dealing with stress. Testosterone comes from good cholesterol, comes from being de-stressed and creating room to not be stressed, and lifting really heavy weights and only ejaculating once a week. Interesting fact. I'm sorry guys, you're listening to that and you've just gone, wait, what the fuck? Yes, the science is out there. To increase your testosterone, it shows that every time you ejaculate, there goes 50% of your testosterone. But if you ejaculate once a week, your testosterone, like on the same day every week, so pick a day. This is completely up to you, so subjective. This is just the science. I'm not telling you to do this. But I saw this, so I'm like, I'm gonna fucking do it. You only want to ejaculate once a week, and that doubles your testosterone. Boom! Science and studies are out there for that. Ben Greenfield's, John Gray, all those masters, they've got the studies, they recommend it, they've got all the proven stuff. Sorry, but that's nuts. So that, and I'm also taking fenugreek seed, which is like a sort of a natural, it helps with like estrogen regulating and the rest of it. It's just a herb. So I'm taking fenugreek seed. I am trying to get more minerals in, some more magnesium. I am actively meditating a lot more. I'm trying to de-stress as much as possible. All my fats are usually really good, and I lift heavy all the time anyway. So it's that, plus some good sleep. Try and focus on some sleep, and my test should increase. Now, what is interesting is that there's a few different testosterone things that sort of that indicate what's happening with your testosterone. So you don't just have testosterone, you have, hold on, let me just get it up. Gotta find the actual right part for it. Blah, blah, blah. Sorry, guys. There's like 4 different types of testosterone that we test, and I'm just pulling them up because one's actually testosterone, one is your sex hormone, and the other one is your sulfate, one is your sex binding hormone, and then they calculate your testosterone from that. So my total testosterone, actually, sorry guys, my calculated free testosterone was 399, right? Out of the 725 to the 225. Ideally, as I said, I want it to be up to 600 to 725, or something around there. My actual total testosterone is out of a range from 10 to 35. And I'm sitting at 26, so that's actually a little bit on the higher end of the testosterone. Now, there's just different testosterones that make up your testosterone, right? And the next one under that is sulfate, and my sulfate testosterone is the range is from 3 to 10.5, and I have an 8.3 for that. So that's pretty high as well, which is not bad. Then the one under this, I've got a sex hormone binding globulin. And basically what that is the higher your sex hormone this isn't your sex hormone, this is the globulin, so it's a little bit different. So the higher your globulin is, the more it shows that things are binding to your testosterone and it's not getting used as effectively as possible. What? And for mine, that is also really high. So why my testosterone is slightly lower in the calculated free testosterone at being 400 instead of 600 or 725, where we'd like it to be, one of the things that it could be is that I have this higher sex binding globulin hormone, because the reference range, so I'm at a 60 for that, and the reference range is 30 to 71. So that means that too much of my testosterone is being used up by like stress. So it's just another indicator, because the binding globulin kind of shows that the more, it literally is like kind of a stress indicator. The more like sort of stressed out, the higher it's going to go. The more your cortisol is up, the more your globulin, sex hormone binding globulin goes up. So that's why one of the huge steps in my thing was like, I need to be onto my meditation, and not just meditating 3-4 times a week. I need to be meditating every single day. I need to be calming down. I need to not be stressing out, which is the main thing, and getting some really good sleep in there. So that's just a huge indicator for me that it's like, do that, and your test should increase, but also doing all the other things as well, adding in the fenugreek seed, trying to get a good sleep, adding in the magnesium, and ejaculating once a week. Oh, some people think that's crazy hard. No, it's fucking not. It is really not. Yes, and also, so that's it for the testosterone. Then you can have your sex hormone tested, your boner hormone, boom, which is like your, I forgot what it was called, something that starts with luteinizing hormone or something like that. Something like that, don't quote me on it. But anyway, my sex hormone, like, so the range is from 1 to 10, and I was like, I wake up every morning with a boner. I wake up every damn morning with a boner. I should have a really good sex hormone, and it was at a firm 3. 1 to 10. You want that as a guy, you'd be proud if that was like a 9 or a 10. You're like, yeah, I'm good to go. That was at a 3. I was like, oh, god damn it. So what I'm doing about that is, so I'm sticking to having ice bath once a week because that studies show that it increases it. And it's just the other same thing. So especially with that one is probably the whole ejaculation thing. I'm assuming, don't quote me on this, I might not be wrong, just from the research and the studies and the things that I'm doing, I think ejaculating too much will definitely decrease it. And I think that also the whole stress and other things as well will have something to say with that too. But also this hormone has just been captured during the time of the day when I've had the blood test. So, you know, it could be different if that was actually captured at a different time of the day, and it depends if how long it's been since I've actually ejaculated and the rest of it, and what stress I've been exposed to, and blah blah blah, if I just come from the gym or if I haven't. Like, so you've got all those 3 different variables that come into there for that. But at the end of the day, it's still a 3 and it needs to be higher, hence why I'm adding these things in there so it could be better. This is within range, by the way, so most of the time if you look at this, if you saw a doctor for this, they'd say, yep, your sex hormone is fine. I say, fuck that, that's not fine. That is not optimal at all. We want to get that up there. So that is one of the things that you can do for that. Interesting. We go straight into the hormone stuff. How good is that? Next one, homocysteine. So homocysteine, I gotta keep remembering what this is. I think it's how you methylate B vitamins. Homocysteine is a common amino acid in your blood. You get it mostly from eating meat. High levels of it are linked to early development of heart disease. In fact, level of homocysteine is a risk factor. Yeah, so homocysteine you want really low. I think homocysteine has something to do if you have the motherfucker gene, the MFTHR gene. I'll talk about that a little bit. MTHFR gene, sorry, motherfucker, MTHFR gene. Now what happens is it means that, like, you just, things aren't being methylated properly, your B vitamins aren't working as well as properly, and what happens is if your motherfucker gene isn't methylating not methylating B vitamins, but just methylating all this stuff and it isn't working properly, then your homocysteine levels can get up too high. And if it gets too high, then you can increase risk of heart disease and things like that. But mine was smack bang in the middle. 3.7 and 14 is the range, and I was at a 10.3. So no cardiovascular disease, and shows that my B vitamins are working well. Now, I've previously had my DNA tested, and I don't have any motherfucker gene variabilities. Thank God. But most people haven't even heard about this or even know what that is. But what the motherfucker gene is, it just means that, you know, there's 2 variables to it, and you can either have 50% of it, 0% of it, or like the whole thing. There's like 2 genetic expressions you can have of the motherfucker gene. And if you have that, basically it's a lot harder for you to get B vitamins, and like to get around that is eating things like avocado, salmon, organ meats, and making sure that you're having things that also digest B vitamins properly, and probably supplementing it as well, and then like you're sweet. But then you also want to just be careful around, like, people that have the motherfucker gene wouldn't even know this, but like if you have the gene and you're eating shitty food and processed stuff and too many certain fats of what your body can't handle or digest, then it's a lot likely that your health's going to decline. You're going to get obese, anxious, and depressed because the B vitamins aren't working properly. And if you know anything about B vitamins, you know how damn important they are for your body in general, for it just to work and be healthy, and like just your brain and organs to work. So one thing, you can get the motherfucker gene tested. I had one of my clients do it as well, and they went and had, when their blood tests done, they got tested for this gene in particular. So when they went through the bloods, when we went through them with our naturopath, we went through everything, and it was like, oh, okay, so they had 50% of the motherfucker gene, and then all these different variables like showed up to be like, oh, so that's why this is happening here. Well, it could be from that gene. These are things you want to be careful of. Now, what naturopath do I use? I'm going to use a plug. I use, oh my gosh, I forgot the name for a second. The Healing Arts Studio in town. And they are awesome. You can literally just go online and book into their calendar, and then you can just go see them. In Adelaide, if you guys are in Adelaide, Healing Arts Studio. I'll link those in the show notes. They're awesome. You can go see them, and they can help you out with all of your tests, which is really good. Yeah, so didn't have the motherfucker gene, so there's not too much I can tell you other than that. Not good for your health. If you have it, you just have to be a little bit more cautious. Or if you're having problems, because people don't tell you about this, it's sort of like, it's not on the level of diabetes, but if you don't know you have it and you're doing a bunch of things and you're like, why is my health suffering and I can't figure it out, get it tested just in case, because that could really help you. Yes. So my actual blood tests. So this is like all the different things that are in my red blood cells and my white blood cells and everything else. So what's actually pumping through my veins, because there's a whole bunch of things there, and all my stuff was pretty much smack bang in the middle. I was like, yes! The only thing that was low was some of my white blood cell counts and my neutrophils, which is my white blood cell type things, which basically if they're a little bit on the low side, it just means that you don't have any virus or infection. So going over this was pretty cool. My hemoglobin, which I was really happy at, was like a bit higher than usual. Now what hemoglobin is basically like, usually that increase, an iron protein, and it increases with the iron that you take. And basically what hemoglobin does is it's a protein that like latches onto oxygen and delivers oxygen around your body. So if you're ever feeling tired or fatigued, sometimes you can get a blood test, and if your hemoglobin's low, they'll be like, well, that's it, because you're not oxygen efficient at the moment. It's not getting around to all the cells in your body that it needs to be. So I've been eating like quite a lot of steak, but the thing is for me, when I'm eating steak, is I'm like, well, steak's full of saturated fats. If I'm having too many saturated fats, my DNA is not going to be good at that. So what is the balance for me? But I'm also doing things like having Celtic salt, salmon, the rest of it, bone broth. So I should have a decent amount of iron in my diet. And I do take vitamin C and have, you know, vitamin C rich foods with every single meal that I have, and digestive enzymes. So my hemoglobin, I would assume, would be quite high, and it is, which was great. I was like, thank you very much for doing everything awesome. And the rest of it, all my counts and stuff were just like in the middle of the range. So I was like, that's good. That is very good. And excuse me for the moment if I'm sniffling, I have got hay fever. So iron. So I got my full iron panel done because I wanted to see what was going off, and my iron in my blood level was perfect. Whoa! So I'm having steak probably 2 out of 3 nights a week. So I have steak like 1, 2, 3, 4, like 4 or 5 times a week, which is hectic. That's a lot of servings of red meat. But my iron level is benefiting greatly from it. Transferrin. So transferrin is what they like to call glycoproteins, which are found in vertebrates, which bind to and consequently mediate the transport of iron through blood plasma. Whoa, hang on with me guys, we'll get through this definition in a second. It is produced in the liver and contains binding sites for 2 different types of atoms. So this is literally just a type of a iron that actually transports iron through the blood plasma, and it is produced by the liver. So sometimes this could be down if your liver is unhealthy, but mine was great. So I was extremely happy about that one, which is cool. What is next? So the next one is, so yeah, the reference range there was like, I was like pretty much smack bang in the middle for that one. Maybe just, well, actually slightly low, but Doesn't show too much. Then the next one is transferrin saturation. What does this mean? So, nothing really. That's literally just transferrin, how it's working. Don't even worry about that one. Ferritin. So ferritin is a protein that contains iron and is the primary form of iron stored inside cells. The small amount of ferritin that is released and circulates in the blood is a reflection of the total iron stored in the body. This test measures the amount of ferritin in the blood. So ferritin, you want a good amount of that. And mine was, yes, like... The reference range is 30 to 500, mine's 122, so it could be higher, but in all honesty, like my iron, my actual total iron, like the reference range is 10 to 30, is 15, and so that's smack bang in the middle. I really probably wouldn't want my iron too high. It could be probably a little bit higher because I lift weight so much, and like I'm lifting heavy all the time, so I'd need that due to the demands of like blood getting pumped around the body, and I'm constantly like moving and things like that. But I think as far as that being smack bang in the middle and the ferritin being at like a decent amount on the lower side of things, but like I'm in a good range. I think it shows that everything's kind of working like great there as far as like my routine goes with my lifting weights, with the cardio that I'm doing, with the food that I'm eating, with the recovery things that I'm doing, with the supplements that I'm taking, with the meditation, all the rest of it that I do. This is working really well. Now previously, this is like a bit of a godsend to me getting this iron test, because previously throughout my whole childhood I've had a low hemoglobin. I have had some serious fatigue and immune systems crashing for the rest of it, and iron is extremely handy mineral, especially when it's in the middle of everything is sort of just like sorting your overall health out. It is a bit of a godsend if you've got a good amount of iron. Just kind of means you can go hard as fuck is how I'd like to put it. So the next one that I've got in here is my electrolytes, and I was like, well, my electrolyte should be perfect because I fucking smash Celtic salt. If you smash normal salt or table salt, expect that your electrolytes are going to be way out of whack, and like you're really not going to be healthy, and a whole bunch of things aren't going to be working that well. Sorry for the attack, normal salt people, but normal salt people, stay away from normal salt. Please get an organic sea salt, get a organic Himalayan pink salt, because a lot of the ones you get in the supermarket are actually filled with microplastics, which are not good. Or get yourself the best salt, which is a Celtic salt. Celtic, however you want to say it. That's the best one. It's got the best profile of, minerals per gram or whatever it is. So I smash that. And especially because it's higher in potassium, and the reason that salt's bad for you and sodium's bad for you is because sodium just needs to be balanced out with potassium. I mean, you learn that in bodybuilding shows, which is pretty interesting. So, yes. My sodium, potassium, my chloride, my bicarbonate, my urea, my creatinine, and my EGFR were all literally smack bang in the middle. I was like, yeah, go me for the electrolytes, which is great. Creatinine is a waste product of creatine. Now that's very interesting because I do not take the supplement creatine. I don't want to take it because it helps make your hair fall out. So no thank you. But my creatinine levels are right in the middle there. So, which means that I'm having, there's enough creatine coming in from probably the steaks that I'm eating for normal body demands. Now, if I was taking a supplement, this could be a lot higher. Now, as far as optimal range for this, I don't know. I'm really not sure yet. No one's calculated this type of stuff. I'd have to take creatine every single day for a while, see how I feel, see if my reference range, see if my creatinine score has gone from 80 to over 100. And if I'm making all crazy results, then I'd be like, yeah, I want to stay there. If you know someone that knows, let me know. I'd actually love to find out. EGFR is called estimated glomerular filtration rate. Best to measure your kidney function to determine kidney disease. So that wasn't actually, I had to figure out what that was because I'm sure I was like, this isn't a damn electrolyte. But it kind of just shows the rate at which stuff is to let you know if you have kidney disease. So the most of the time people get these blood tests, right, is literally to see if they have anything fucked or if they're sick. But I don't want to do that. And who cares if not really, you do care if, no, I don't know where I was going on that. I was saying what I want to do is I want to use this to figure out where I'm most optimal. I don't really want to know, I don't care if it's, for me, if it's showing me, you don't have a risk disease of kidney failure. It's like, it's cool, yeah, well, I shouldn't. With all this stuff that I'm doing, I want it to be, where's the optimal levels? Which is really interesting. And I've done a little bit of research and I haven't figured it out yet, but we're on the first step there. After the Dutch test, woo, we might be onto something. So, the next test here is my liver function. And everything was in the middle, but 2 bad boys were higher. And I was like, no, they weren't high. They were just a little bit high. So I've done some things in order to sort this out. Now, there is a few things for the liver function. Take my beer away. So we've got total protein, perfectly in range. Albumin. Albumin is a protein made by your liver. Helps keep fluid in your bloodstream so it doesn't leak into other tissues. It also carries substances through your body, including hormones, vitamins, and enzymes. So the liver stuff, you don't actually realize how important the fucking liver is until you do this stuff. You're like, whoa, I want my albumin levels to be jacked. Getting all that stuff around. So the reference range is 35 to 53. Mine's smack bang in the middle, 43. I'd like that to be a little bit higher, to be honest. I'm just by thinking of, it's like, from my mind, I think, well, if I have more of that, then more things are going to be getting transported around more efficiently and quickly. So that would be great for me. Alkaline phosphate. Reference range, 30 to 120, 97. So a little bit higher than the reference range. And alkaline phosphate is an enzyme found in several tissues throughout the body. The samples of healthy adults mainly come from the liver, the rest coming from the bones. So that's a very good thing to know. But doesn't tell me too much. It just tells me that I am healthy. Their liver is working awesome for pumping that out, which is obviously really needed. Then you've got bilirubin, which I've got score out of 13. It says anything under than a 25 is a good. Bilirubin is used to help find the cause of health conditions like jaundice, anemia, or liver disease. It's a pigment that happens when your red blood cells break down. Your liver takes the bilirubin from your blood and changes the chemical to make up so that it's actually passed through number 2s as bile. Your bilirubin, if they're higher than normal, it's a sign that your red blood cells are breaking down at an unusual rate, or that your liver isn't breaking down waste things properly, which is probably the main thing that you'd want to know. Like if your bilirubin levels are out and you're not breaking down waste properly, that is no good. And considering the amount of protein that I eat, I was like, mine may be a bit higher than usual, and it's not. So things by the liver are all good for that reason. Gamma GT, I got a 25 and the reference range is under 51, so it's kind of in there. This is kind of just like to test for liver disease. It's got a whole bunch of everything in there. It's just an enzyme that is found in heaps of organs, and the highest concentrate is found in the liver. And yeah, it basically just shows if you've got like a liver disease or something. It does a whole bunch of things, but like these enzymes are so like ridiculously important, and we want like as many of them as possible. Now the 2 that are higher is my AST and my ALT levels. So my AST levels should be under 41. Mine is sitting at a 76. That's a bit high. ALT levels, 60, and it should be at a 51. So that's a little bit higher, but the AST is like, it's a bit higher. So AST is an enzyme found mostly in the liver, but also in your muscles. When your liver is damaged, it releases AST into your bloodstream. AST blood test measures the amount of AST in your blood. The test can help your, blah, blah. So anyway, so basically shows that your liver is damaged, it releases AST into your bloodstream because it should be kept in your actual muscles and your liver. So some things that I've done to do this is, one of the things that my liver would find hard to process is things like saturated fat, too much protein, and basically those two, too much saturated fat and too much protein, and any chemicals that aren't that good. And if my liver's working overtime, that is no good. So what I have done to do this is actually start eating more liver, because believe it or not, that is actually really good. And I've also added in St. Mary's milk thistle, which is one of the best things to do that can actually help your liver. I'm drinking a lot more water, and I've also trying to reduce the amount of saturated fats that I'm eating, and eating things like more fish instead, and actually more chicken and leaner meats too, because I eat like a lot of fatty beef meats, which is handy. Now your liver also gets put under stress when there's too many minerals, and also just stress in general can also stress your liver out. So my ALT, this also checks for liver damage, and you can, basically find out if you've got any sort of liver damage from like drugs, injuries that have happened to your liver, because it makes a fluid. What the ALT does is actually make bile so that your body can digest food, right? So that is really needed. Now, the reason that I do think that some of these are higher is because I have a higher protein diet, and because I'm eating a lot more than the normal person. I am eating quite regularly, and I'm eating all the time. So I actually take digestive enzymes as well with this, and I think that my liver this is what I'm assuming, and I talked to this naturopath. We're assuming that my liver is actually pumping these out because it's just under the pump all the time, and it's actually not too damaged. It's just getting worked really well. So that's one of the things. But just in case it is too high, I'm doing a few things at the moment, like taking the like actually eating liver, St. Mary's milk thistle, reducing my amount of saturated fats, and trying to de-stress in order to sort those out, which is extremely interesting. And then at the bottom there, we've got our globulin, and your globulin is a group of proteins in your blood, and they're made in your liver by your immune system, and globulins play an important role in liver functioning, blood clotting, and fighting infection. Now, it sort of shows that my liver is, like the rest of the test shows that my liver is great, and that it is working optimally. I've got the total protein, I've got everything sorted out. It's like all in the middle range. It's just that these two, the AST and the ALT, are just pumping out some stuff due to the demands on the liver. But other than that, it is all good. Now, the thing is, the main indicator is that what happens is I probably wouldn't want to have these a little bit high for, let's say, 30 years. That might be a little bit too much damage on the liver, but your liver does adapt. So that's why I'm trying to figure it out, sort it out now, get as optimal as possible for this, or it might depend, they might just be a little bit higher. Could just be me. We don't know yet, but further blood tests will let us know, which is interesting. So cholesterol is within range. Woohoo! It shows, it kind of saying here that like I've got good cholesterol, especially because my overall cholesterol says it's really good. My HDL cholesterol, you want over 1, and I have a 1.6, which is good. The more HDL cholesterol is pretty much the better. However, my LDL cholesterol should be under 2.5, and I have a 3.4. Shame on me! LDL cholesterol is sort of like your bad cholesterol, and you don't want that to be too high. The reason mine would be too high is, well, I eat a lot of good fats, and I eat a lot of fats too, but it's just been my saturated fats again would be too high. So there's two sort of indicators here for my liver function and my LDL cholesterol saying, you know what, mate, you should probably just relax on the saturated fats a little bit, because your body, your DNA has told you that it's not the best at dealing with those things. So saturated fats are butters, creams, steaks, coconut oil. That's what I usually eat out of them. But the rest of my things, so my non-HDL cholesterol is perfectly in range. My triglyceride level, which is if they're too high, I actually turn into body fat, is at a good level. But what's really interesting is that they have two different calculations. They have your LDL, HDL ratio risk factor. So they actually do the ratio of your, like, how high your HDL is and how high your LDL is. And it shows that I'm perfectly in range for that. So because my HDL cholesterol is so high, wasn't say so high, but because it's high enough, it's also helping support with the LDL cholesterol. This is only a very slight little thing not to be alarmed at ever. You'd look at this usually, someone who's doing the blood test, go, I wouldn't even worry about it. But because I want everything to be like sort of micromanaged and like supercharge everything, very handy to have a look at this and try and make it as best as possible, because I want to live like a really long time with heaps of fucking muscle, feeling amazing, and my brain working like a beast all the time, which is so good. So yeah, would like to do that. So yeah, it's just a really good indicator to show that a lot of my cholesterol is all fine. Basically, I wouldn't really have to worry about that LDL cholesterol, but I'm going to. And I'm going to make some changes about it and see what happens in the future. And see how I feel and see how, just things are working. So the next test I got done was my C-reactive protein, which is known as your CRP, used to identify the presence of inflammation in the body. I would assume, of being a bodybuilder, someone who lifts all the time, that my C-reactive protein would be high, and I wouldn't be alarmed to be like, that's fine, don't even worry about it, train all the time, body inflamed. But because I do ice baths and saunas, and I eat extremely well, and I meditate, and I journal, and all the rest of it, it's like perfectly in range. It's like, you want to be under 3 and I'm a 0.7. So as far as inflammation goes, no inflammation for me, which is fucking awesome. Balancing shit out, awesome. So my fasting glucose is a 4.9, which is your fasting glucose is your blood sugar level. You can actually get like a little glucometer to test that throughout the day, and I've used that quite a few times beforehand. Anywhere around like a 5 is usually pretty good. Anything above a 3.9 is like good. Anything below a 6.9 is also good. Only when your blood glucose level spikes really high, when it's like something, that's like an indication to know that you're eating something and inflammation is happening, or your body is not reacting well to a certain food and you need to go and get a food test or something like that, or you're eating something that's not aligned with your DNA and it's causing you inflammation. So when that spikes up, you're like, oh, something's going on. So, you know, you can get that tested with a blood glucometer, but it comes with the test anyway that I did here, and it was nice just to be like, yep, cool, all good for that stuff. B vitamins. So my B vitamins levels were, I think my B vitamin 12 is actually like, it's pretty spot on, but when I look at it, I go, maybe that was just a little bit low, and I'm just getting it up here. Yeah, because the reference range is, oh no, my B vitamin was awesome. I thought it was a little bit low. I was completely incorrect. You wanted to have so there's two B vitamins they test for, B12 and folate. So you want your B12 to be over 37, and I have 128. So I was like, oh yeah, big flex for that one. Woo! That's because I got no motherfucking gene, and I'm having bone broth every single day. Swear to God, that is why my B vitamins are up really, really high. Other foods to get them in would be things like spinach, asparagus, cooked beans, lentils, broccoli. Like there are in a lot of meats, beef and stuff, but if you don't eat meats, Brussels sprouts, avocados, just a real good range of those things, and some type of fruits as well, like cantaloupe, honeydew, banana, raspberries, grapefruit, a bunch of good things like that. But you'd want to avoid synthetic B vitamins, because synthetic B vitamins ruin the absorption of normal B vitamins. That's why you got to be careful taking B vitamin supplements. They have to be natural, organic, like from foodie type, because the synthetic ones actually prevent the absorption from B vitamins. I learned that on the ATP Science podcast, and I was like, what is going on here? So you want to avoid foods like enriched grains, enriched pastas, cereals, breads that have been injected with vitamins, commercially produced flours, and hot chips. Hot chips with all the bad fats will just ruin all of that. No! My folate level was also awesome. You want it to be above 9, and I got a 34.7, which is cool. But however, actually, sorry, the reason I said that my vitamin B levels were a little bit low is because I did some research, and apparently, like, it is healthy to have it up at like 150 plus. Like, the more kind of B vitamins, especially for someone who's lifting and exercising all the time. That's why I said a little bit low beforehand. Sorry, I was incorrect. Again, Jesus, Corey, get it right. So, yeah, so you can get it like over 150. And about 150 just to be like, yeah, you're pumping in some good vitamin Bs, but I'm really happy with the level that I've got because I'm doing everything naturally and as organic as possible, which is great. The only reason it would be low is any fats, I think. Any damaged fats preventing the absorption of vitamin B12. Too many saturated fats, goddamn. Folate B2 is high, which is great, which is one of the B vitamins which is needed to make red and white blood cells in the bone marrow. It actually converts carbohydrates into energy and produces DNA and RNA. Adequate folate intake is extremely important during periods of rapid growth such as pregnancy, infancy, adolescence, and making some gains. We want that rapid growth, baby. So yeah, you want your B2 levels to be extremely high in your folate levels. So what are the foods that make up folate, and they are some foods like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, leafy green vegetables, kale, spinach, spring greens, chickpeas, kidney beans, actually liver. So having desiccated liver powder or eating liver or any organ meats are extremely high, and anything like that. Asparagus is also really high too. But I eat a lot of Brussels sprouts and like broccoli kind of every single day. Eggs are also really good. You can have those. Some beetroots or some sort of citrus foods. Fruits can help with that too. So they're the foods that are rich in it. And they're usually rich in B2 and B12 as well, which is really interesting. So, what is next on this test? Yo. I think we're almost good here. I think that's pretty much done. So we got that's it. Vitamin B12 is the last one. Well, I hope you guys learned something in this podcast. This is extremely interesting. I hope it's kind of piqued your interest to get your blood test done. I would recommend, though, first, before getting your blood test done, if you're doing it for health and performance thing, get your DNA test done first, because you only have to get your DNA test done once in your lifetime. That is it. And it tells you everything to do with your DNA. If you haven't already listened to my podcast about DNA, it's called something like Why You Should Get Your DNA Test, something like that, one of my earlier podcasts. I'll link that one in the show notes so you can actually see that. And that tells you basically how your DNA is working firstly and as best as possible. So get that done first. And then when you get your blood test and seeing all of these different things, it makes a lot of sense after you've gone through your DNA test to be like, that's why that's there. That's why this is here. Oh, that's why I can't do that. Oh, this is why this is making sense. Blah, 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 and all the rest of it. It makes a bunch of sense, especially like why my B vitamins are so good, don't have the motherfucking gene. Why some of these other things that are playing up, and it's like, well, saturated fats aren't too good, and like, because I'm not too good at like methylating saturated fats, I should be eating a lot more higher omega-3 foods and a lot more higher cruciferous vegetable foods, and I should be getting, for me, because I'm more prone to injury risk, I should be focusing on sleep and meditating a little bit more. And that also shows up with the testosterone panel and all the rest of the things, especially showing like where the stresses or what stress is happening and all the rest of it. It's like, this is extremely interesting. And now what I can do is make the little changes to the things in my routine. How to finish a book, 1 page a day. So I change these little things in my routine that I can do every single day, and after a few months of implementing that, few months to 6 months to a year, I'll get this test done again, and I'm hoping for it to just be optimized as fuck. Looking at it, we out here doing it, getting it done. So yeah, I hope you guys learned something from this podcast, and if you didn't, then go get your blood tested. Nah, kidding. Go get your blood tested anyway. Anyway, sending you all the biggest love, guys. Thank you so much for listening. If you learned anything, please share this in your story, or please leave a comment, or please chuck a like, or send it to someone who else may be interested in a blood test, because, we're out here trying to be the best humans as possible. So, big flex, and catch you later, guys. See you in the next one.